Hey everyone, Dan at Oilcloth Bushcraft. Well, I'm out here with my oilcloth tarp doing another shelter for you guys. Now, this tarp setup that I'm going to do is basically turning your tarp into an old school canvas style tent. So I've got my 8 foot by 8 foot coal cracker bushcraft tarp, oilcloth, and I have a ridgeline with me, which we're going to use to set the tarp up on. And when this is completed, you'll actually have two options. You'll be able to have the front open or configure it with flaps that you can close, like again, an old style oilcloth canvas tent. So you need a ridgeline. I always have one with me in my pack with a loop on one end ready to go. Bowl and knot works just fine. I prefer the double overhand. So I've already got my ridgeline ready to go with the double overhand knot. And I'm going to run it about stomach height. That's about the perfect height for this. Two ways to do it. One, you can come around and run your cordage through the loop. So I would have to pull all my cordage through this loop and then go down and do a trucker's hitch on my other tree. And of course that means when I take everything down, I have to pull it all back through this loop. Or a quick, easy way to do it is to just make a little loop, pull this through, and make another little loop right here. Okay, see that? And put a toggle in there. And then I will just pull that tight against the tree. And then I'm going to walk down and tie my other end off and do a trucker's hitch. But before I do that, I need to run some of this cordage through the loops, tie outs on the top of my tarp. So my oilcloth tarp has loops all the way around the outside, but it also has a row right down the middle of the top. So I'm going to run my cordage through the first three loops. I'm going to leave the rest free because they are going to form the back wall of the tent. I got myself a pretty long ridgeline, as you can see, but better too long than too short. Okay, so I've got the first three loops, the cordage ran through them, and the last two loops, as I said, are hanging free because they're going to go down to the ground and form the back wall of my tent. So I'm going to move you guys with me. So I'm going to go down to this other tree and do up a trucker's hitch. Okay, down at the other tree where I'm tying the end of my ridgeline off to. Again, I'm keeping my height roughly about stomach high, and I'm just going to use the trucker's hitch down here. So in order to do that, I've got my cordage wrapped around the tree. I've got to give myself some slack because I want to put a loop right about there. I think will be about the right place. So give myself a little slack, and I'm just going to turn this over in my hand like so. And then if you can see, I'm going to pull the cord up through here and make a loop. Then I will run my cordage through that loop and pull my ridgeline tight so my tarp is up where I want it to be. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to actually take this cordage around and I'm going to loop it through here a second time So when I pull this, everything stays more secure and it's not going to come flying back undone when I release the tension. Okay, so I've got that good and tight. I'm going to lay this across, and by the way, there's a lot of videos on YouTube if you want to, you know, type in trucker's hitch, where you can get close-ups using bright colored cordage and different things. But I'm going to just lay this a loop across the top, and I'm going to pull my cordage up through that loop like so, and then I like to tie that off one more time just to keep everything nice and secure. So my tarp is back down here, and the thing about it, and I actually have a nice long ridgeline here. I can set that tarp up anywhere I want on this ridgeline. I can pull it down here, set it up maybe under some shade of the tree that's above me here, or down there using that tree for some cover. So I can set this, I'm free to set that tarp up anywhere on this ridgeline where I want right now. I'm actually going to go down back towards that end. So move you guys again. Okay, once you've got your tarp in the place that you're going to turn it into your shelter, you don't want it to slide anymore. You need to secure it. Another thing that I always have in my pack along with my ridgeline is a couple prusik loops, prusik knots, and you can Google that again, or go on YouTube and just type in prusik loops if you don't know how to make one. And there's some really cool videos using brightly colored cordage where they show you how to tie up each side and then pull it tight, and then you have a prusik loop. And again, I keep a couple in my pack at all times along with my ridgeline, so when I need to set up, I don't have to stop and cut more cordage. So I'm going to take this prusik loop, and I've got my tarp right where I want it. I don't want it sliding around anymore. So I'm going to take this prusik loop and I'm going to put it over my ridgeline, and I'm going to pull it through on itself. See, I'll move the knot up to the top so it's out of the way. I'm going to pull it through 3 times. Okay. And then I will put that through here and toggle it. So now, when I have the other end of this tarp secured, I can pull, and this tarp is not going to move. I can grab my loop if I decide I want it a few inches this way. I can slide my loop. Once I do, again, the tarp is secure and it's not going to go anywhere. So pull that tight again, and right here is about where I want it. Now, I don't need to put a prusik loop on the third one that's back here. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bottom, and I'll move you guys down where you can see, and I'm going to pull the bottom tight down to the ground and stake it. And that's going to pull, put tension here and pull and keep everything up here nice and tight. If you want, you could put another one here, but there really is at this point in time no need for it. So let me get you guys into a different position again. Okay, you guys remember earlier I had said I was leaving the cordage off of these back 2 loops because this is going to be the back wall of the tent. So I'm going to take the very back loop and I'm going to stake it down, and I'm going to pull everything nice and tight off that ridge line. Okay, that's going to be the back wall of my tent. Now I'm going to start opening this up. So I'm going to stake out the 2 back corners as well. I'm pulling those out nice and tight. And that'll work for now. And then I got one more over here. Same thing. I'm going to pull it out nice and tight. So I'm actually pulling it out and back. You guys aren't going to be able to see this one, but it's right down here below the camera. Okay. See how we are back here. Try to give you guys just a little bit better view. Oh. Okay. Yeah, see, I got my back wall made now. Got the center loop done, pulled out tight. And then I got my corners staked out, pulled out tight too. So I've got a nice big back wall of my tent made. I'm gonna go around to the front, take you guys with me, and stake off the front 2 corners. And I'll also show you how to make a quick change so that I can actually create flaps on the front of this setup. Okay, here I am at the front of the tarp, and I've got some more tent stakes with me, and I'm going to take the 2 front corners and I'm going to do the same thing in the back as I did in the back, and I'm going to pull them out nice and tight and stake them down. And you guys are going to see there is a lot of room inside here when this is done. So I'll pull out each corner nice and tight. And get the other one. See, I've got this tree right in the way, so you won't be able to see this one. But you should be able to see it opening up. And how much room is inside here. So that thing really opens up nice. Gives you a lot of room inside. Just to show you guys, I got room to sit up in here. If I want to sit up in the front, have a fire out in front, I could just pull this back farther away from the tree. I've got it close to this tree right now, but I could pull the shelter several feet back and do a fire in front of the entrance and have heat from that fire coming up in here all night long. And as you can see, there is just a tremendous amount of room. And I can actually lay out 2 people in here comfortably and have the heat of the fire coming in. Now what you can do, if you want to create flaps on the front of this, is rather than staking down the very front loops, I just move them back. So move you guys back a little bit, try to give you a little bit better view. And you should be able to see. Okay, so right now I got the front 2 loops staked off. I got stake right here. Rather than that, I'm going to stake off the second loop and leave that front one without anything holding it. All right. Same thing on the other side. Doing the second one back. Okay, so my front two loops are no longer staked down. That gives me, and they're not full flaps, but it does give me some protection here where I can actually run a piece of cordage through here and tie those off. And I have just a small opening right here on the bottom to put my backpack in. So if I didn't want to have a fire, but I wanted to stay fairly insulated, I could undo them first two loops, tie me a piece of cordage through here for the night, and then set my backpack right here, and I'm good. So this is how to turn an oilcloth tarp into a setup that very much resembles a traditional canvas tent. Two different ways to set it up. Wide open front end. You know, summer like it is now, I want the front open. I want a breeze coming in here. Winter comes and I want a fire in the front. I'll just pull this back farther away from this tree because I have several feet of room between the two trees where I can pull this back and put a small fire in the front, have the heat from the fire coming in all night. Or if maybe it wasn't cold enough for a fire, but it was just windy and rainy out here, move those stakes back so that I could close off the front, set my pack here to block this opening, and have no wind at all coming in, and just the insulation from my body heat and underneath my wool blankets and whatnot inside. Anyway, guys, another setup with the traditional oilcloth tarp. Again, this one is from Coal Cracker Bushcraft, 8 foot by 8 foot. Also know, I think Tent Smiths is the other company that you can get them from. For me, doing bushcraft, it's not the same as, you know, preparing for bugging out and things with where you're worrying about weight and whatnot. I will carry whatever I want to carry to enjoy myself and have a good time while I'm out here. And I have been having a blast playing with this oilcloth tarp out here and learning different ways to set it up. And before fire season hit, I got the chance to put a big roaring fire in front of it. And we're only about a month away. Fire season will be over, and I'm gonna be able to set this back up in some of the ways that I've showed you guys with a fire out front. So we'll come back and we'll revisit an actual setup where I've got a camp set up with a fire in front and whatnot. But you know, I'm really enjoying it, and it also gives me a feeling of nostalgia. It's a traditional feel, and I really like it. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching Ochiko Bushcraft, and if you pick up one of these and try out some of the various setups that I've shown you guys now, I've done quite a few videos and still have some other ideas I'm working on to set this up. I would love to hear in the comments, if you've done your own, how you like it, how you're enjoying it. Appreciate it. Take care out there.